Hello, welcome back to my craft room and welcome to day 6 of New Catalogue launch week. Today I'm really pleased to be showing you the Comfort and Hope stamp set, which is a really nice set of stamps with images and sentiments. You'll find it on page 88 of the New Catalogue. And I picked it because I think people often have difficulty using the stamp sets, which include a lot of apparently unrelated images which are designed to be made into collage style stamped projects. So I thought, well, let's give you a little bit of an introduction to collage stamping and show you what you can do with a stamp set like this. So the words in here are comfort and hope, know that I love and care about you, sometimes there are no words, and sending you a paper hug. Sadly, at the moment at least, the only people I can hug are the people I live with, which means I cannot hug my daughter, for instance, but at least I can send her a paper hug now. The images on here are this one, which is like a bundle of thread, which has been wrapped around your fingers and then dropped on your table. This one, which is like herringbone wooden flooring. A grid pattern. A little sprig of grass seed heads. If any of you know what that is, let me know because I'm not sure. And then these two, which are sequins. They're a little bit hard to see on here, but when you stamp them, they really do look like 3D sequins. And this little one with scallops and little bumps on it. So if I lift this up a little bit better, I'm hoping that you can see that the images are all slightly distressed. Now, this is a great thing when you're stamping, because if you slightly imperfectly ink your stamp, or you stamp it and it's not 100% perfect and you've got little gaps, it's not going to notice because the stamps are designed to look like that anyway. Now let's show you some of the things that you could do with this. So here's my first card. There's lots of, well, I was going to say white space, it's vanilla space really on this. And I've used Very Vanilla card and Night of Navy card. And then I've used Night of Navy ink and Granny Apple Green ink. So I've stamped the thread. I've stamped a scattering of the sequin images here. And I've stamped the words Comfort and Hope on a banner with a darker piece of Night of Navy card underneath. And that's it. That is all that card is. If I open it up inside, I've stamped Know That I Love and Care About You, and I've popped some of the sequins on there as well. So my next card is also very simple. It uses this thread or wreath image again, and this time I've used the grasses, and I've stamped one of the grass images flat on my white layer, and then I've stamped another one on a scrap of card. I've cut it out with my scissors, and then I don't know if I can show you that on camera, I've popped it up on dimensionals just across here. Now, if fussy cutting isn't your thing, you could easily just stamp that twice flat on the white card and you would have a very similar effect. I've added a little linen thread bow. In the middle, I've stamped Sending You a Paper Hug. My card base is Old Olive, as is the wording. I've stamped that in Old Olive ink. And my layer here is Early Espresso, and then I've stamped white on the top. The grasses are stamped in Cajun Craze. And then inside I've just stamped the grasses again in the bottom corner. The next card is a Z-fold card. If I stand that up, you can see that it makes a Z. These are no harder to make than ordinary cards. All you need is a piece of card here. Now you can do it with half a sheet of A4. I've actually cut the length of my A4 sheet down to 11 inches because it makes the scoring a little bit simpler. And it's half the width of A4, which is 4 1/8 inches. If you'd rather, you can cut that to 4 inches and it would be fine. And then I've scored it at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. So 5 1/2 is the dead centre of the card, which is why it's easier to cut this to 11 inches because that's easy to halve. I fold that over exactly as I normally would, reinforce the fold with my bone folder, and then here's my other score on the front panel, and I just fold that back on itself and again use my bone folder, and that makes the Z-fold card. Very, very simple. And then I make my front layers exactly as I would for any card, and when I come to stick them on, I just make sure that I only attach them to this part of the panel, so that means glue only on this section of my card front. Otherwise, if I put glue on this section, I'm going to stick my card closed and I won't be able to open it. Whereas this way, you can open up the card like that. So Ziegfeld cards are very easy. I'll show you what I actually put on the card front here. I used Highland Heather ink and the herringbone flooring pattern, and I stamped it 3 times across. The herringbone stamp has a sort of an irregular edge to it, both on side to side and top to bottom. So when you repeat stamp it and stamp it next to each other, you find that this stamp fits very nicely here as you repeat stamp it along, and also top to bottom. And because you've got those slightly distressed sections to it, if you do overlap or have a small gap, it's going to look absolutely fine. So don't stress about matching that absolutely perfectly. So yes, Highland Heather ink, and I stamped off twice, so I've got it very, very pale in the background. I used the same Highland Heather ink, but not stamped off, to stamp these little scallops here. Most of them are hidden under my central section. And then I used Melon Mambo after cleaning the stamp to stamp it again. And then I stamped the sequin images in Melon Mambo. I've added a few little rhinestones, and then I've made this central section using a new punch called the Lovely Labels Picker Punch, and I will show you that in just a moment. I added some seam binding ribbon on there, and inside I stamped the herringbone down the right hand side. Again, stamped it 3 times, I think it was. Lining them up is really quite easy, and then the sequins on top as well. My card base is Purple Posy. This layer is Gorgeous Grape, and then Whisper White here, and Gorgeous Grape again here. And the words I've also stamped in Gorgeous Grape ink. Let me just show you the new punch to make these labels. You'll find this on page 22, and it's a double punch. We've got tag topper punches in the catalogue that have carried over. They're fabulous, but this one gives you 2 in 1. And it's particularly nice for labels or banners, as I have here, but it will also top narrower tags. So it's designed with 3 channels. This moulding goes down, so if you cut a 1-inch strip of card, it will slide in here. If you cut a 3/4 of an inch strip of card, it will go on the next level down, and if you cut a 1/2-inch strip of card, it will fit right down in the bottom there. Whichever side you choose, it's exactly the same. And the shaping of the topper is designed that it will punch the whole lot if you use the widest width of card, 1 inch. If you punch a 3/4 of an inch piece of card, then where these dotted lines come down, it cuts off that section and that section. And if you punch the narrowest strip of card, 1/2 inch, then it cuts off at the inside dotted lines, so you just get that section there. And it works exactly the same on the other side. We've got a different shaped pattern in there, and I've got a couple of samples here to show you. If I can pick them up. There we go. So this one fits here. Let's hold that up, hopefully you can see. So the yellow is 1 inch, the blue is 3/4 of an inch, and the pink is 1/2 inch. And then this one is the one this side. Again, a 1 inch, a 3/4 of an inch, and a 1/2 inch strip. And of course you can make these as long as you like, and you can then just punch both ends. So that's exactly what I did on my centerpiece here. So that's that card. And then the final card I've got to show you is one where I will show you a little bit of collage stamping. So here I've used the grid pattern, I've used the grasses again, I've used the sequins again, and I've used the phrase, sometimes there are no words. So let me do a little bit of stamping and show you how to make collage stamps really work together. So I'm going to start off with that grid pattern. I've got crumb cake ink, and I'm going to ink the stamp but then stamp it off because I don't want the full intensity of the ink. So I'll just stamp it off there. A bit of scrap paper is fine. And then I'm going to stamp it on my project. There we go. And then I'm going to stamp it again. Now I could stamp it up that way, or I could turn it and stamp it this way. And it doesn't really matter which I do. Let's keep it that way as that's the way I've got it up. So there we go. Now those merge together quite nicely, but in any case I'm going to be stamping the grasses across where that join is. So let me do those grasses now. I'll bring in my early espresso ink and I'm going to stamp this image twice with ink straight from the ink pad. So I'm just going slightly on a diagonal, and let's think, I can turn it that way, I could turn it that way. Let's have it, yeah, I think kind of, oh, decisions, let's have it like that. There we go. Okay, so there's two of those, and you can see straight away that the join between my two grid images is not really showing. I'm going to stamp the words next. So early espresso ink again, and I mean, I could put the words all over the place, but for me, one of the things that can make collage stamping really work is having the images all touching each other, or at least your eye thinking that they touch it, which I'll show you in a minute, perhaps with the sequins. So I'm going to overlap my words very slightly with that grid, about there, I think. There we go. And then I'm going to add the sequins to really pull everything together, and also add just a little pop of colour. I've lost one of the images on the desk. I don't know where that one's gone. I can't see it. Honestly, if you could see my desk, it's unbelievably messy. Right, so this is the large sequin image. So I'm just going to stamp it there. And then I'm going to turn the stamp. And let's do one more there. I'll have one more quick look and see if I can find the small sequins. I didn't think I'd put them away. No, I haven't. Oh, there they are, hiding behind something, and it also needs a clean. So there we go. Must have completely missed that. There we go. Let's clean that stamp off. Right, let's bring in the same. So this is crushed curry ink, and this image, it has one sequin and then it has two sequins, and what that means is with that sort of tongue of the stamp, you can kind of slide it in between some that you have stamped already and just make it look like a scatter of sequins. This is going to be one of those stamps that you can use to cover up inky fingerprints on your card, things that didn't quite go right, anything like that it's going to be perfect for, and I think I'm just going to add some large ones in there. So there we go. So again, this sequin, I don't think I've actually overlapped the grid. I think it's just in the corner of a space at the corner of the grid, if you see what I mean. But they're coming out this way. So I'm continuing this diagonal line, and I want some sequins up here as well, just to make that look right as well. And I think I'm just going to put small ones up here because I've got much more weight down in this bottom corner. So we'll keep this looking quite light. Turn the stamp again, I think, yes. There we go. So that is my completed card front. So I've got a visual line coming down here, which is pleasing to the eye. My darkest stamping is in the centre for a focal point, and all my images are touching each other, which makes these images, which really don't seem to relate together at all. And I mean, really, they don't, do they? We've got sequins, we've got grasses, and we've got a grid. As well as the words. I mean, they've got nothing in common with each other, but if you stamp them in colours that work together and you overlap the images and have them slightly touching, they don't just look like random images that somebody's put on a piece of card. It becomes something more than that. And let me bring in the finished card just to show you again. So I've just layered this on an early espresso card layer and a crushed curry layer, and I'll bring this up a little bit closer. Hopefully you can see that in more detail. So there we go. That is the Comfort and Hope stamp set. And I'll put the cards out again for you to just have a final look at. I'm hoping I can get them. They're going to have to go slightly out of shot, but I think they're pretty much in. There we go. That's not good. Let's do two at a time. There we go. So that's those two. And then let's give you these two. Very simple stamping. Didn't require lots and lots of supplies, just some ink and stamps and card, and some optional dimensionals. This one, a little bit of ribbon and some rhinestones, but even those you could have left off. So have a look at the stamp sets in the catalogue, maybe try a little bit of collage stamping, and I look forward to seeing you here again tomorrow for the last day of New Catalogue Launch Week. Thanks so much. Bye bye.